Let's have a discussion. People have questions. They would like answers. Let's talk about the issues. Confront the things that may be difficult to address. The Black narrative. Greetings, brothers and sisters. My name is Steve Muhammad, and I'm the host of The Black Narrative on the National Network View. And today we're going to be talking about the politics of educating Black youth. We are joined today with a powerful brother, Brother H.A. Jabbar El-Dokan El. And my brother, I want to greet you in the greeting words of peace of Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, dear brother Steve. Peace and blessings to you and your family and to all of those that are watching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we just want to go and hit it again, brother. So let me go ahead and give you another introduction. And I want to let people know that you're a student rabbi. You're an author. You're a trainer. You're a commodities trader. You're a graduate, I believe, right, of Arizona State University. You're alumni.
Yes.
And you're also the husband of a powerful sister Zakia Sankara Jabbar.
Yes.
And so we just want to get right on into it, brother. The politics of educating Black youth. As we already know, as Neely Fuller said, when you're in the system of white supremacy, everything that the Black man and woman do is political. But can you go into talking a little bit about the politics of educating Black youth?
Well, education is a significant factor to the development of everybody's life. We all start, most of us start school at 6 years old and go to school possibly up through to 18 or beyond. And there's a lot of money in education. It takes a lot of money to educate a young person over that course of time, that course of years. And so just the money alone brings politics into it. But education is the means by which you can control people. There's a man named Horace Mann, a Caucasian European, who was very enlightened and thrived by Hitler and the Prussian army. They called it Prussia at that time. And he wanted to know how Hitler went about getting so many people to obey his commands. And so he went there and he studied, and he became a PhD, and he made the first PhDs in America. And so from that standpoint, our public school system under Horace Mann's ideology has been his politics, you might say, that have surrounded how education is funded, who gets education and who doesn't, where schools are set up at and where they're not set up at, what type of curriculum or books or subject matter that is covered or that is not covered. All of that is the depth of education. I've done a great deal of organizing, advocacy, and policy work in the field of education in Dayton, Ohio, and nationally. I was very surprised to find out, Brother Steve, that the city of Dayton has a smaller education budget than the Dayton public schools did. Oh, that blew my mind. Let me say that again. Right. Bring it back, come rewind. Let me say that one more time.
Yeah.
The city of Dayton, Ohio, had a smaller annual budget than Dayton public schools. So just the money alone, you're talking pencils, you're talking paper, you're talking software, you're talking computers, you're talking desks, you're talking chairs, you're talking teacher salaries, you're talking health benefits, right? I mean, this wide array, janitors, bus drivers, buses, tires, engines. I mean, all of these things are the politics of education. And we have, again, under Horace Mann, under this education system, we've been living under a system really set up by those that oppose the rise of dark-skinned people, of the original people, of Black people. And so that's just a surface matter look, at the politics of education.
Right. And you have written or put together a curriculum, if you will. Tell us why it's so important for Black youth to have an Afrocentric curriculum, and tell us a little bit about the one that you put together.
Excellent. A part of our tradition, Brother Steve, and we see it through rap music, is storytelling. When I was young, it was Slick Rick. Now today there are others, but Snoop is one of the great storytellers. Ice Cube,
Mhm.
storytellers. And so I have to tell a story. I go to Dayton Public School. I was a volunteer reading tutor, and so everybody's concerned about the third grade. Third grade, they say, is where you find out what trajectory a student will be on if they'll end up in jail or not, based on whether they can read or not. So
Right.
systems have taken third grade very seriously. So they sent me to a third grade classroom. I'm in an all black school, black principal, black teacher, black children. As I say, it's like the Jay-Z album, all black everything, right? But you look at the curriculum, it's all white faces.
Mm.
It's all white people. The subject of the day, Brother Steve, was genealogy. What is a cousin? What is an aunt? What is an uncle? What is a brother? What is a sister? What is a niece? What is a nephew? Everybody in the room looked like me. But on the page that they're reading from,
Come on.
the page that they're reading from is the opposite of them. You know what I mean? And so that in itself creates a disconnect from the child. The child, what is this? Throw that over the shoulder, you know what I mean? Holler at the girl next to him, throw something at his friend. But now they're disruptive. Now they're causing a disturbance in the classroom that other people are trying to learn in. And
Right.
so the curriculum is so critical to draw the attention of the student, to invite the student in. Oh, they can't wait to go to school. I don't know about your children, but my children, when it's time to go in the morning, say, oh, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't know. I don't know.
That's
And
why.
one son, he would say, "Oh, it's Black History Month. All they're going to teach me about is Martin Luther King. Why don't you teach me about Marcus Garvey? Why don't you teach me about Farrakhan? All they want to teach me about." And what do you say, son? I'm sorry, the curriculum sucks, but
Mm.
you have to go. That's the politics. That's the politics of it.
Come
Because
on.
if you don't go to school, then possibly your parents could get in a lot of trouble, right?
Mm.
So the curriculum is so critical, to teach students in
And
a manner that is most effective to the
right.
way that they learn.
Not to interrupt, but I mean, you made a good point, and it's a point that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has made as well. He was talking about, for instance, you and I, graduating maybe years ago, a few years ago, right? But he was talking about the yearbook, and when you get that yearbook, you're looking for your picture. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So in history, you're looking for your picture, and like you said, this causes you to have a connection with what you're learning about. So, like you're saying, if you are opening up a book and all you see about white inventors and white astronauts and white educators and these things like this, then you're going to be disconnected and disinterested in learning about these subjects of math and history and astronomy and so forth.
And let's go further, because it's not only what you teach, but it's how you teach, right?
Mm,
And so you
right,
turn on the music, you got a beat to it. In kindergarten, you start rhyming A, B, C,
right,
one, two, A, B, C. I mean, it has a beat, right? But all of a
yeah,
sudden, you stop, right? Get in
right,
line, get
right.
in a straight line. Raise your hand if you want to speak. You didn't raise your hand. You know what I mean? And so it's not only what you teach, the subject matter, but it's also how you teach. So some people listen to something, oh, they got it right away. But some people want to take the information and use their hands to manipulate the information. Need to write it down or draw a graph. These might be kinesthetic learners, and then there's others that they want to see the information. So there's different methods of these learning styles. So it's very important, because European learning style is not necessarily the learning style of our people. And it's so important, again, that we talk about that storytelling, because there's what they call an association. And so if I teach you about sailboats, Brother Steve, and a math problem, and you grew up in the inner city school, you never seen a sailboat. You can't associate with a sailboat. But if I tell you about the bodega or the corner store or Skittles, right, or JJ's Fish and Chicken, right, or the various things that we're accustomed to, they call them, Gloria Ladson Billings called them cultural reference. So they
Mm,
have to have this reference that they're accustomed to, that they can link and associate with. Oh, that happens in my neighborhood. Oh, that happens in my family. Oh, I've seen that before, as opposed to the quite opposite, where they are forcing a system of European field information to a child that is the contrary.
And then they also bring that up as far as a factor in the SAT scores, where how it is written out is just not culturally relevant, or they can't connect culturally because they're talking about yachts, or just things that our young people have never even heard of or experienced. So you definitely make up a good point there. Also, another point that I wanted to bring up is Amos Wilson was talking about, the late great Amos Wilson was talking about how our children develop faster. And so, to a certain degree, the educational process is too slow for some of our young people, isn't it?
Particularly in this technological age, the child often are playing video games, and they're using their eyes and their sensory skills in a much rapid way. And they're watching movie at the same time. They're sending emails, they're getting text messages at the same time. And so they're doing all of these sensory activities, heightening awareness of taste, touch, smell, and see. And all of a sudden you bring them into the classroom, and now it's a very slow pace where where it kind of drags out, and then you add that subject matter that's not necessarily drawing them in. And this is a very technical world that these children are living in, and the world is moving at the speed of light, literally, right? Technology is literally moving at the speed of light, but the classrooms are not moving at the same speed. So it is a challenge to you have a Ferrari, you tell them to drive 30 miles per hour, all day long. You never get a chance to really open that car up and to get it to its fullest potential. And that's something like where we are with our young people. We're not tapping into their full capabilities. And that's politics. That's
And
politics.
that's yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's politics. And so, one of the things that, we're taught in the nation is that education is something that is in essence supposed to bring out of you what's already in you, that potential that's in you. But as you're saying, what we're really what's really education is doing is to train us to be a clog in the system, wouldn't you say?
And so as opposed to drawing out, you said pulling out what's in you, it's a more so of attempt to pour something in your head or put a needle in your brain, you might say. But when that child rejects that information, because that's happening a lot, right? A lot of dropouts, a lot of children are disinterested. And so they're not taking that information, and they do things to either decide not to go to school or just not to take a test. And then they find themselves in quote unquote academic, challenges in their ability to read, their ability to critically analyze and to rationalize situations in society is lessened. But it all starts from that boredom, that disconnect in the classroom. They are continually attempting to pour into us, and a lot of children are rejecting it. And then that's how they end up in what they call the school to prison pipeline.
Come on, brother. This is just what we want to go into, the school to prison pipeline. Now, can you break that down for us? Give us how this school to prison pipeline works. What's the process? You know what I'm saying? How do they get a young person who, when as we're growing, we're always asking the question, how does this work and why? And then all of a sudden that questioning, that curiosity, that wanting to know is dimming, and in many cases the light is literally put out. And so go into us how that process works. How do we go from entering into school into entering into prison?
Well, unfortunately, too many of us either have to or do, put our children in a public school system, a system that we don't, primarily control, a system that we have not enough power over, and particularly in, curriculum and pedagogy, or how you teach students. But there's something that they call zero tolerance laws. And these came out many years ago. These laws that inside of a school where there's certain kinds of behavior that they will not tolerate. and they put in language in there. You talked about Minister Farrakhan earlier, and this wise man. He talks about the use of language. So they're putting this very vague language in there. Being disrespectful. Well, that's a level such and such of offense, and you'll be suspended this many days, or talking back, or being disobedient. Well, how do you define disobedient? How do you define these vague terms that they'll put in as law as a school? And so children often find themselves suspended, over and over, having days away, and again not wanting to go back. And so they end up finding themselves in some form of trouble. There's been a rampant race to put all of our children on some types of drugs, some types of Ritalin or other high octane, you might call them, type of medicines to dummy them down, to make them steal their mind. But often children are being suspended at a high rates. Comparison to their white peers, they're suspended 10 times and 15 times, and it's across the board, regardless of the state, regardless of the school district. Black children, Latino children, Hispanic children, they are suspended and expelled the most. And so this puts them in the system on their way to prison. So they might catch a juvenile case, playing hooky, even truancy. They might catch a juvenile case taking something from that did not belong to them when they were supposed to be in school, and things of that nature. And oftentimes, if there's a fight in school, they can call the police, and the police can come into the school and arrest your child. They can come into school and question your child without you present. Did you know that? That hurt my feelings when I found that out. And so all of these various ways, these systems, these mechanisms to make our children bored, to distract us from the love of learning, to give us information that will benefit us in a small way, to allow us to exist in society, but not excel. So there's this disconnect with school. Children oftentimes don't like school, and many of the reasons that we just presented, but this leads them down a path that is not the best of paths. And then some of those paths lead to juvenile jail, some of those paths lead to adult jail. And then you find situations like judges in Pennsylvania being found on getting kickbacks or receiving monetary bonuses for giving harsh penalties to juveniles. So you say, oh, he stole something. Well, we're going to put him in a private prison because they get monies for us being in prison, and they're going to put them to work for a very small fee. And these are, again, mechanisms to put us back into slavery. And so it can not only be an education system, it can be a slavery system.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you have to also factor into that, can you talk about the teachers at the teachers unions, also the complexion of the teachers, the gender of the teachers? I mean, all of these have a factor in educating our youth that we are just now as a people becoming conscious of. Can you go into that?
Absolutely. Most teachers across America are white women. Emmett Till is a good example of the experiences that Black men have had with white women. They've been better, obviously, but we've seen this term they call these Karens right nowadays, and this is a term used for white women that are calling the police on Black men and Black women that are being very action oriented in their racism and calling the police. And so we have an abundance of white women teachers. Now, these are often teachers that do not live in the communities of the children that they teach. And unfortunately, not only are Black people miseducated or African Americans miseducated, but white women, white men and people are uneducated too on the real history and heritage and culture of our people. They see what they see on TV and get what they think of us. They see what they see in the newspapers and on the news and receive what they think of us. Of course, they were raised in houses that spoke about what they thought of us. But often these teachers are ill prepared because they're not from our culture. They don't understand our cultural reference. They oftentimes really care very little for us. There are some very good white women teachers, though. I won't discount all of them because that wouldn't be just and that wouldn't be fair and that wouldn't be balanced. But we've seen the statistics of who sends who to suspension, to detention, to the principal's office. And there's an abundance of white women teachers that are doing this to our children. But unfortunately, we haven't built schools for ourselves, and we are subjecting our children to a people that are opposing our rise. There's certain things that they won't teach us. They just won't do it. And that's opposing our rise.
Hmm. Very good. Thank you, brother. And can you tell us, so now let's get into the Racial Justice Now, powerful organization doing
Yes,
some
it is.
powerful things, starting to get, national recognition, shout out from Killer Mike and, and so forth and so on. Started by your wife and sister, Professor Vernelia Randall. And I was there a little bit at the beginning myself. But can you talk about Racial Justice Now and why it was formed, and then we'll go into a little bit about what they're doing present day.
Excellent. So there was a excellent interview done by Brother Steve Muhammad with Professor Randall and Sister Zakia up on YouTube. Excellent interview you did with the two of them. Racial Justice Now is a 9-year-old organization started in Dayton, Ohio. My beautiful wife Zakia Sankara Jabbar was having difficulty with her son Amir at the time in kindergarten, and he was around a lot of Karens, all white women, and he was under the threat of suspension and expulsion for reasons that really didn't make any sense. For doing things that were age appropriate, and Zakia started to do some homework and some research, and she found that this was not only happening to her, but it was happening all over the state of Ohio and all throughout the nation. She began to become politicized, reading Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, who has a number of excellent books about the education system and how to properly educate Black boys and Black girls and Black children and our own methods of education. And she became politicized, and she began to work at the school board level, the local school board level with Dayton Public Schools, in demanding that they stop the suspensions and expulsions of pre-K through third grade students. This led to a barrage of work and ultimately a statewide policy change signed at the highest level of government in the state by the governor that banned pre-K through third grade suspensions throughout the state. So much love to Racial Justice Now, my beautiful wife Zakia Sankara Jabbar, for Professor Vernelia Randall for forcing those things, willing those things into existence for the betterment of our community. From that point, Racial Justice Now continued to work to remove police from schools. In schools, they often call them SROs. SROs stand for Student Resource Officer. A student resource officer, student resource officer is also a special officer because they are trained by who? By the police.
Right.
They're trained by who? By the police. They are considered special police with jurisdiction over certain areas, particularly the school fields, and etc. But they often have powers to arrest, and we have found them to be very abusive to our young people. Again, there are some good SROs out there. However, we've seen the statistics, and they tell us that SROs are not the best route for our children. But Racial Justice Now currently has 3 campaigns where they're doing the healing work, because we do know that we have suffered under wicked oppression here in America. And so not only what we found from organizing, advocacy, and doing policy work in the school, Brother Steve, we found that not only are children traumatized by the curriculum, by the school, by the teachers, by the system, but parents have been traumatized by the school, by the teachers, by the system. And so this is generational trauma that the education system has inflicted upon the family, not the person, right? But the family generationally. And so Racial Justice Now has been doing work around healing work. Again, we talked about our culturally relevant curriculum campaign and promoting culturally responsive schools. And we're also working on our campaign to remove police from schools, called Counselors Not Cops. Had a lot of grassroots wins. And I think it's one of the strongest Black-led organizations in the nation.
Absolutely, brother. And I applaud, of course, the work that you all are doing, because it's very necessary. One of the things that you talk about is when you talk about the police, right? I mean, this is ridiculous, right? Because why is it that they have funding to put these what do you call them, SROs? Is that what they're called?
So the reason they have funding is because Caucasians, Europeans, being wickedly wise, knew that as slaveholders, that there was an underclass of whites that they didn't want to rebel against them. There was a lower class white that needed a job, that needed food, clothing, and shelter, and so they would give them crumbs from their table. The slave owners would give crumbs to their low class whites to police us, to go catch runaway slaves, to go catch those who might be free, and then make them become slaves. And so that is how the police formed. That is how the original police unions formed. That is how they came together over how to herd black slaves. And so this is what we see now in modern day time is SROs. Student resource officers will work with the police when they come into the schools. So if a police comes into the school, they will work with the SRO to knows who's who and what's what. And so if an SRO arrests someone, which they do have powers to arrest, if they arrest someone like they did in the 4th grade class at Dayton Public Schools, if they arrest someone, they hand them off to the police. And so, it's tough to say that SROs are our friends. It's very tough to say because some of those look like me and they have a job and they're able to feed their families and they're able to have benefits. But that's done on the backs of putting us back into slavery.
And just like many situations when the people are calling for the defunding of the police and really, the whole restructuring of how policing is done. In many situations, and this situation really applies even to the schools, that the police are not trained, to handle certain situations, particularly situations where an individual may have some mental issues. And for many of us, as Black people, we all have mental issues because we're living under the system of white supremacy. But can you go into talking about once again, why is it they have this funding for the police, but they don't seem to be able to have counselors who can deal with these situations that these young people are coming from in their homes, many times domestic violence, many times hunger, just a whole cornucopia of situations that are just handled improperly?
Well, like you said from the very beginning, Brother Steve, it's political, right? It's political. A counselor in this system of things has to have a master's degree. So that's mandatory in this system of things for a counselor to have a master's degree. So that master's degree demands a master's degree salary.
That's right.
And so the SRO doesn't demand a master's degree. The counselor solves problems possibly in our community, right? The SRO doesn't solve problems in our community. The SRO, assists the perpetuation of white supremacy. Funding is a big deal. When the school shootings happened, I think there's been 3 significant school shootings. The last one being in Florida, Parkland. There was the Virginia Tech shooting, and there was also the shooting in Connecticut. I forget the city. It was a early education institution, but it's been proven when there are police present, it doesn't end a school shooting.
Right.
So there's no research, Brother Steve, because a lot of our leaders are not out of the box thinkers. So they often look for what do they call standards, approved that people have already done, what they call it, best practices. They're always looking for best practices. They're not oftentimes not creative enough to come up with their own best practices. And so best practices tell you that a school shooting is not stopped by the police. It's not. They don't make schools safer. But what they do is provide jobs. They do help lower class white people that don't have a master's degree or a college degree have a job. And matter of fact, they're also helping white supremacy stay around by putting black bodies in jail. So it's political. It's political. There's big money, again, big money in education. So when Parkland shooting happened in the state of Maryland alone, the safety and security, right? Not police, Brother Steve. The safety and security budget at the school quadrupled in the state. Quadrupled. So that means more police in schools, not counselors, more police in schools, more batons for the police, more handcuffs or pepper spray, more wands to wand people down. They're taking now, to your point always about technology, now they're monitoring students' Facebook page and Instagram pages and things of that nature. So now they're going to a COINTEL level with our school system. And so it is political. It is money. In the state of Maryland, has a higher incarceration rate of black males than Mississippi. And so these are mechanisms which they lock our black ass up. These are mechanisms. How do keep that cowboy boot on our neck? These are mechanisms. So this is a system, all these different parts. You got an SRO, a teacher that is referring you, right? A principal that's referring. Then you got a school board member on the local level that's voting for more SROs. Then you got a school board member on the state level that's voting for more SROs. Then you got the finance person saying, nah, we're going to get more money for our school district and we're going to provide more jobs. It's not going to make us safer, but we're going to have some more money, right? And so all of these mechanisms is what they call an education system today in America.
And brother, we're not talking about no foreign enemy. We're talking about our children. You know what I mean? And what you're telling us, once again, I keep asking that question about the funding because I just want the people to understand where the funding is going towards. I mean, here you have these teachers who are taking money, some of them out of their pocket, just to provide materials for the students to learn. And yet the budget is going more and more to police the young children, to get them ready for a life in the prison industrial complex.
Brother Steve, there's only one body that I know of that has a black national school system. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. And when you would say you go to a private school, it was synonymous with saying that you go to a Catholic school. And so in the Washington, D.C. area, there are a number of Catholic schools, elementary, junior high, and high school. One of the greatest things they knew was that they have their own school system. There's only one group that I know of from my study that has a black national education system, and that is the Nation of Islam. There are numerous African-centered institutions, some of them charter, some of them not, independent. There's a number of, homeschool parents that are acting in that fashion. But end of the day, the key is we have to control our education system for our children. If we allow someone else to pour into them values that are not our own, culture that is not our own, an agenda that is not our own, then we will see the results of, they call this generation a lost generation. I don't like that terminology, but this is a generation that has suffered significantly, not only in school, but a generation, Brother Steve. Nobody brings this up, and I don't like it. It's not brought up enough. The crack cocaine epidemic.
Come on, right.
These young people are victims. You might say 2 generations away from the crack cocaine epidemic. The biggest drug dealer in the nation was Ronald Reagan. The biggest drug dealer in the nation was the highest office of elected official. He used his General Oliver North to bring cocaine into the nation, gave us, our people, harsher penalties. And then the ramifications was extensive murder in our community, extensive people being jailed, extensive robbery, mothers leaving their children for the fix of crack cocaine that was made in a laboratory. And so now here we are, 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, 2020, what is the product of these broken homes that the Caucasian has broken, literally through methodologies, through wicked systems and parts and components within the system. And so these children are victims. Nobody's talking about it. These are victims of
That's
the
right.
crack cocaine epidemic. Many of their fathers are jailed. Many of their grandfathers are jailed. Many of their fathers have been murdered. Many of their grandfathers have been murdered. The same thing with their mothers, their aunts, nieces, nephews. All of these things are extreme factors in the education system. And education system is the key component to the development of any nation. And America's education system has rapidly been on a decline. Brother Steve, you will always hear America talking about how their computers have been hacked. And somebody hacked into Macy's, and somebody hacked into Target, and somebody hacked into the White House. Well, we're not doing a lot of hacking ourselves because we have not lifted up those wise minds that are in our communities. We have not elevated those wise minds. We have suppressed them. And now we don't turn out engineers like we used to. We don't turn out mathematicians like we used to. We don't turn out scientists like we used to. We don't turn out physicists like we used to. And so now America is bringing in Pakistanis. Now America is bringing in Koreans. Now America is bringing in all the other nations that are training in technology, in coding, in high sciences, in advanced mathematics. And they kicking America's behind in education, in mathematics, in chess. And so that's the result of what they call dumbing down a nation. And it's being done at the highest of levels.
Man, brother, boy, I mean, I really appreciate you exposing all this and helping people to understand. And you're helping us to understand this in a way that we can understand it. It's not language that, it's over our head. What you're saying, we understand, or we should understand.
God is
And
the
so,
greatest.
yes, sir, absolutely. And so let me ask you this question because we talk, let's look at some solutions, right? So we talk, as you were saying, about the Nation of Islam, the Muhammad's University, many of the students ranking in the top 10 in the nation. Of course, this is never even exposed in the mainstream media, and we know why. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad arrested, Trump charges, really because he wanted to educate our youth in our own schools. So this is a danger, really, to this system of white supremacy. However, to keep a person down in the mud, you get mud on you. And so what you're saying is that America's education, the system, our students are falling, not just black, white students, and white people need to understand this, that white students, black students, brown students, yellow students in America are falling behind, and then soon we'll be out of the market altogether. So let me ask you this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan called for a new educational paradigm, right? You established a new 21st century education system called Ambassador for Ed. Tell us a little bit about that program.
Well, we developed a culturally relevant curriculum toolkit, Brother Steve, and here is just a small preview of it. And these are resources. It's not a full curriculum as of yet, but these are resources that we are putting forth as we continue to study and to put together our curriculum. These are resources that we believe are good for teachers as professional development, resources that are good for principals and teachers, community members, after school professionals, and those that want to start independent schools. And so we are delving into our history, heritage, and culture. It's very important. I've heard the saying, maybe you've heard it too. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, And so Columbus came and they say he discovered America. And I can agree because if he didn't know it was here, he discovered it. He lacked knowledge and he made that discovery, and he was knowledgeable after he made that discovery. But for others, it wasn't a discovery because they were already here. They had already been there. They already knew about it. They already had maps that guided them there. Christopher Columbus did not come by himself. He came with Moorish navigators with him that spoke Hebrew, that spoke Arabic, and spoke various other languages, including Spanish, because in 1491, Black people, Moors, North Africans, original people, Aboriginal, ruled all the seven seas.
Mm.
Let me say it again. Let me say it again. Let me say it again. All the seven seas were ruled by the Moorish Empire. The first people or nation to recognize America as a nation was the Moorish Empire. Did they do it because they loved white people, because they just wanted to put respect on white people's name? No, they did it for business purposes. They did it for trade and commerce. And so in a new education and curriculum system, we have to understand trade and commerce.
Yes.
That great wise man, you've mentioned his name, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'll call him brother, my brother, our brother Farrakhan. He told us in Detroit one year, he said to study John Henry Clark. He didn't say study him, excuse me. He said to study the writings of John Henry Clark. John Henry Clark said the main thing about education that we need to teach our children, the main thing we need to do is to teach them how to be handlers of power. See,
Right.
people are upset with Ice Cube. Oh, he went out by himself. Oh no, he said this and he said that and he didn't ask permission. Ice Cube studied under Dr. Khalid Muhammad. That beautiful jet black brother, he told him that the black man is God. So no, Ice Cube ain't asking permission to say and do what he feel like doing because he is a God. You may
That's right.
agree with it or disagree with it, but he has found power. He
That's
has
right.
found power and influence, and it didn't come through a college degree. It did not
Mm.
come from the American education system. It came from the God in him that he is recognizing. And so Psalms 82 and 6 is the beginning at kindergarten of our new education system. It says that we are all God's children of the Most High God. And so
That's
we don't
right.
need to wait until high school to teach them physics. No, we get right away to it. Energy, force, and power. So
Mm.
in this book, Brother Steve, that I was blessed to allow to come through
Yes.
me is what our great minister has taught us
Mm.
about energy, force, and power that is within us. We
Mm.
don't have to pray to God and then look up to the sky and wait for it to fall down. The
Come
God
on.
is in us. And so the
Right.
new education paradigm, the new curriculum teaches us our own history, heritage, and culture. And it also reflects being God-centered. This education system doesn't respect God. Let me ask you a question. They say God is not allowed in the public schools. Well, what about
Right.
the devil? Can we talk about the devil? Is the devil allowed in the public school? I ain't heard
Come on,
nobody
brother.
say, whether that was true or not. But Brother Steve, there's some great essays, and I just want to share some resources from our
Yes,
culturally relevant
sir.
curriculum
Absolutely.
toolkit. Some great resources. I mentioned John Henrik Clark, the master teacher that so many love. He said something very strange. He is a part of a project that was done in Portland, Oregon, led by the great Dr. Asa Hilliard. Dr. Asa Hilliard led a project in the Portland, Oregon school system that brought in consultants, including Dr. John Henry Clark, that addressed the subjects of the contributions of African Americans, the contributions of Latinos or Hispanics, the contributions of Asian Americans, the contributions of Native Americans or American Indians. And it addresses the contributions in mathematics, the contributions in sciences, the contributions in languages, in social science, and another one. But Dr. John Henry Clark, in this Portland baseline essays, we believe is an excellent resource for teachers that are not familiar with the history of our people. In this Portland baseline essay, he says something profound, and it goes right over our heads, Brother Steve. He
Mm.
starts to talk about Africa, and he says that the name of this continent was not called Africa until recently. It was called Matari, Ta, Ma-Ri. It was called X. It was called this. It was called that previous. But people call it today Africa, but this is not the actual name of it. Then he proceeds to go and say African people this and African people that and African people the other. But the point being, Our education system is ancient. We're
That's right.
old people. We've been here for a long time. You know, they like to say, well, we got iPhones and we got satellites and we got computers. Well, we got the pyramids, Brother Steve. Has somebody remade the pyramids lined up astrologically to the stars? Has somebody redone that? Brother Steve, did you know that there are pyramids here in North America? That there are
Come on,
pyramids
brother.
here in Illinois? That there's pyramids here in Ohio? That there's pyramids in Mexico that are astrologically aligned to the stars? Do you know that boats and ships came here, let me say it, 50,000 years ago from Africa or Tamari or Kemet or East Asia? We're ancient people. And so our curriculum has to reflect the ancient ways of our people. Last thing I'm going to share, brother, from this culturally relevant curriculum plan is our 12-point plan to move school districts forward. So as a Black man, as an original man, as a Moor, as an ancient people, you know, we got to put some beat on it. You know what I'm saying? We got to put some rhythm to it. We got to put some seasoning salt in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everything we do got to have flavor. You know what I'm saying? In the current education system, it's just salty. It just salt. It's a saltine. You know what I'm saying? Saltine and water, and that's it. You know what I mean? It don't have no flavor, and therefore it's not attractive to those that want to eat that food. And so our 12-point plan adds some flavor to school districts. Now, this is what we presented to Dayton Public Schools. We said, number one, implement mandatory reading in schools of Miseducation of the Negro and Up from Slavery. 2 excellent books. 2, implement a 3-year district-wide initiative teaching the game of chess and its history, grades 3 through 12. 3, implement culturally relevant books and course supplements into the course of study. There's a suggested book list available. 4, implicit bias training for all teachers and staff, but in the context of oppression. 5, incorporate local Daytonians or local persons from where you live into the curriculum. 6, or local Black people to the curriculum. 6, professional development and culturally relevant pedagogies, including hip-hop pedagogy. What better way to learn language than the methodology that the children are using every day?
Right.
7, utilize the Oregon baseline essays in professional development for teachers. We talked about that. 8, use the work and scholarship of Black scholars to solve the problems of Black children and Black families, such as Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings, Dr. Aisha Hilliard, Dr. Malefi Asante, Dr. John Henry Clark. 9, implement a district-wide academic Olympics with events such as debate team, chess, and robotics. 10, bring restorative justice and peace circles into the school culture. 11, utilize storytellers to build the joy of learning in accord with our ancient traditions as griots or jellies. 12, address varied learning styles of the students, such as kinesthetic learners. And so that's just a highlight and some of those things that we are presenting. But we know, Brother Steve, we must have our own school system.
Those 12 points implemented. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely got to support and get behind you and give the people a little bit of information on how they can follow you, how they can contact you, how they can get you on their program.
Excellent. So our toolkit is found on rjndmv.org /CRCTK. /CRCTK stands for Culturally Relevant Curriculum Toolkit. My book can be found at moorzion.com /shop. That's MOORZION.com /shop. Some more of our curriculum for our younger students to share the principles of Kwanzaa, which are unity, faith, purpose, creativity, self-determination, cooperative economics, collective work and responsibility. All of these are a part of the Nguza Saba, or the 7 principles that we practice in Kwanzaa, which is a reflection of our ancient history, heritage, and culture. And so from the websites at morezion.com as well as rjndmv.org, you can find some of our work. I'm on Twitter at HAJabar, HAJABAR. I'm on Facebook. You can find me at Ambassador for Ed. That's Ambassador number 4ED. Also Ambassador for Ed on Instagram.
All right. And so we'll go ahead and start closing this out, but I definitely want to get this the 25th, right, anniversary of the historic, monumental, I don't even a glimpse of heaven, right? Million Man March. Tell us about your experience with that Million Man March. Yeah, if you can share your experience of that day.
Absolutely. In 1995, I was in New Jersey when it occurred. I had just Brother Steve won a national prep championship in wrestling, and I had been recruited to a boarding school that allowed me to wrestle at a higher level. So I was actually there when it happened. What I will say that it affected me greatly. Of course, I joined the Nation of Islam in October 13th of 2003, and in Washington, D.C. Shout out to Muhammad Mosque number 4, Regional Minister Abdul Qadir Muhammad, as well as Regional Captain Brother Aaron Muhammad, who were, my leadership when I came in. And it was there during the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March where the 9 ministries were introduced. Of course, one of those ministries being education. And I was there on the mall on that great day when our great educator, our great master teacher, introduced those 9 ministries, one of which is the education ministries. I will say that those 9 ministries are based off of universal wisdom, not the wisdom of Horace Mann and Prussia, Germany, but it was based off divine wisdom off of the creation of the sun, which is likened at the center of a universe with 9 planets that orbit it or circulate in a round like motion around the sun. So the 9 ministries is a reflection of those 9 planets circulating around the wisdom of a mighty high God or a most high God. And so one of those planets being that great planet of education. And so we know as gods, back to Psalms 82:6, that we do put planets in orbit. As gods, we make planets and we put planets in orbit. And so we have to put that education ministry in orbit. It won't happen for us. It won't happen by asking permission, like they wanted to Ice Cube and others to ask permission. You have to go out and do the work. We can say we believe, we can say we love, but let us do the work. Just like you, Brother Steve, I've been watching you since about 2012 doing this mighty work of journalism, doing this mighty work with young people, doing this mighty work, putting young people behind the camera, putting young people in front of the camera, teaching them the skills necessary to write and to record and to do all those skills of a journalist. And so nobody, I don't recall you asking for permission. I don't remember you kissing the pinky ring, but you found your field and you worked it out. Like you said, it's big fields of waiting for who? The wide awake man, not the man that is asleep, not the woman that is asleep, but for the wide awake man.
Man, brother, we gotta I knew when I asked you to come on and we chop it on up, brother, that it was gonna be powerful, man. I'm energized, you know what I'm saying? When they talk about in the church catching that Holy Spirit, right? For me, it's hearing brothers like yourself, of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and others, when you teach and educate, it's just such a beautiful thing. And in some situations, I can hear the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I can hear a lecture from him and almost start crying, brother, because it's so powerful. And, man, and I won't go more into it. I'm just catching the ghost over here, like I said. So as we close this out, my brother, is there anything that you would like to end this out, close this out with?
Wow. This there's so much to say. No, education. There's a book that minister released from a speech. I believe he said education is the key. You know, you can say when you know more, you can do more. You know, we believe in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You know, that'll give us cultural refinement so that we can build a high civilization. When we get knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, we learn those principles of freedom, equality, and justice. And when we learn those principles of freedom, equality, and justice, and we have knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, then we can do for ourselves and give ourselves food, clothing, and shelter so that we can find peace, love, and happiness. And those are the 12 jewels. Brother Steve, I'll have to leave you and tell you that we are not just the real children of Israel, that we are the real seed of Abraham. We are not just the children of Israel, not just the seed of Abraham. We are the 12 tribes. We are Naphtali. We are Ephraim. We are Asher. We are Gad. We are Judah and Manasseh and Dan and Zebulon and Issachar. That we are Benjamin and Simeon and Reuben. We are those 12. And the greatest day of your life, Brother Steve, is the day that you were born. And that is how you know which tribe you are in. And maybe next time we can dig into that wisdom, because the wisdom doesn't stop, brother. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has set an example for us, not for us to worship, not for us to bow down to, but for us to duplicate. He has taught us that he is a student of another man and has pointed to that man who he said is not dead, but is still alive. And so that electronical energy, that vibration that we are picking up on and that we are continuing the work. You might come for the man, but you got to come for all of us, because he has done the unthinkable in multiplying himself. Not dividing like they want to divide Ice Cube and P. Diddy. They want to divide the black man and the black woman. They want to divide the black family. But no, we multiply. We don't divide.
That's right.
We multiply. So what the brother, what they say is
we
don't die, we multiply.
That's
so
right.
Keep going. The wisdom keeps going. The more we study, the more we pick up on the vibration, the more knowledge that we have to give to the young ones. So with all those things, Brother Steve, I'm greatly thankful for your ministry, for your journalism ministry, for your information ministry. Much respect. And I would be remiss if I did not lift up the name of my brother, Tyrone Muhammad, that great soldier for over 20 years in the Nation of Islam. Thou, our mighty captain in Cleveland, our mighty captain in Indianapolis, our mighty captain and minister in Dayton. And it's great ones like him that could soldier for 20 years and take care of a family, be a husband to a wife for 20 years because a man that taught him that, taught him the value of family, the value of brotherhood. And so I wouldn't be right being here with you on this great day and not lifting up his name of that mighty soldier, Tyrone Muhammad.
Absolutely, brother. You know we got to have you back on here, man.
I'm ready.
Power and energy.
That is my brother. That's Brother Steve. That is my brother.
Yeah, you got to definitely give the greetings to your beautiful family for me. You know what I mean? I know we talk about Jay-Z and Beyonce, but we got Jabbar and Zakia. You know,
come on, Z. So come on, say hi.
Yeah.
Zakia.
Hey, baby. I know we getting off track.
Yeah, she getting on me. You know how you call them off the bench real quick. You know, she not feeling extra cute, just a little cute.
Good to see you, Brother Steve.
Good to see
you.
Oh man, I got the family. Hey, this is a special affair. So, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you all for tuning in. This has been a powerful interview with our brother H.A. Jabbar, and we want you to continue to tune in to NNV. We want you to definitely, and I'll read this because we want to thank you. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below. Follow us on social media at NNV News, and please subscribe to our, well, you can't subscribe to our YouTube channel because they took it off of YouTube because of the truth being so powerful. And I want to say that, you know, brothers and sisters, real quick, you know, when you see them taking off most channels, they're Nation of Islam channels, Brother Ben, Brother Rizza, Brother Ilya, you know, and they allow others to stay on. The Nation of Islam, the Final Call channel, the Nation of Islam channel. This got to tell you something, brothers and sisters. This got to tell you something. So with that, I just want to say, follow us. We're still on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter, National Network View, or type in NNV News. And with that, I want to thank you for tuning in, brothers and sisters. May God continue to bless you and your family with the light of truth and understanding. God bless.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.